Well, welcome to the overnight, and the draft is now over. And I must say, the Giants had a really good draft. They really did. And if I were to grade them, and there was one thing that really irritated me about what the Giants did during this draft, and I think it just prevented them from getting like an A. I mean, I think I grade them a B for their draft. I mean, getting Abdul Carter, now I heard giant content creators say now the Giants have an identity and it's on defense. We'll see what happens. We'll see what that identity comes to fruition. We'll see what happens. The one thing that it created more questions than answers of what Shane did on Thursday night. You didn't have to trade up, because look where you're going into. You were going into late in the first round. Did any team in that late first round need quarterbacks? No, they didn't. The Rams, there were reports that the Rams were thinking about getting Jackson Dart. And I'm thinking, didn't they just extend Matthew Stafford 2 more years? So they're in win now mode. So that would make no sense to have Jackson Dart sit for 2 years. And there were reports that, the Browns and the Saints were interested. But how I saw that was, first of all, the Browns already made 2 trades already. And they made 1 big trade. And I didn't think they were going to go back up into the first round, because they had enough picks to begin with for the rest of it. But by that, plus I think New Orleans, I didn't think New Orleans had the draft capital to make a deal to get back in the first round, and with their salary cap situation. So, to me, how I see it is, you wasted a 3rd round pick and a 3rd round next year for absolutely nothing. You gave away, especially when you were 3-14, and you need every fucking. You need to fix this team. And that's how I saw that day. And then going in, I figured, all right, maybe. And then after that, they exercised Kayvon's fifth year option, which, you got Carter, Kayvon, Burns, Golston. You also signed that guy. I signed the player from when he was with Arizona last year. Now you have a rotation, but I figured if Abdul Carter was drafted, Kayvon Thibodeaux was gone. I figured he was going to get traded later, like either early in the second round or later in the first round. And when they said that, was kind of a little bit of a surprise, but the defense is pretty much set. I like the 3rd round pick. Darius Robinson, very good. And in the 4th round, we got Scatabo. That's going to be a perfect complement to Tyrone Tracy. And those 2 are going to be pretty damn good. And then you take the 2 7th rounders. And I understand why they took a tight end, because Daniel Bellinger and Dolchich, they're in their last years of their deals. But, I think they might get cut after training camp. So we'll see about that. But everyone is so happy. I mean, yes, to me, I think this draft right now, as of now, I think right now it saved Joe Schoen. Now, it's up to Brian Daboll. It is up to Brian Daboll to develop these players. And now Brian Daboll has his quarterback, but he's going to be sitting. So to me, if this team and still it has the strongest strength of schedule in the league, because you're playing the AFC West, so that's going to be a pissed off Mahomes and the Chiefs after what happened in the Super Bowl. And then you have the NFC North, where you're probably going to have a pissed off fucking Detroit team that had no business losing their first game in the playoffs. So they're probably going to be pissed off. So, and the NFC North was much improved, as is the AFC West. So there's going to be a lot of tough games. And a lot of tough games. And the defense, if they gel quick, and if the offense doesn't complement them, they're going to be losing games 17-14 or 13-10, because the defense, I think, is going to be very good right now. But the reason why they're going to lose is because they're on the field too long. And we'll see come in 2 weeks on the 14th how the schedule shapes up. There's so much before this, we don't know who's calling plays. We have to make sure that the locker room culture is good, because it wasn't good last year. You think it's just going to magically fucking just turn around? No, it isn't. Players were surprised that Daboll got to stay this year. So this is on Brian Daboll now. This is not on Joe Schoen no more. Because I don't want to hear that this was Joe Schoen's fault because these guys couldn't pan out. No, it's because of Brian Daboll and his goddamn coaching staff that can't develop. And if this team starts off slow, and I still think Brian Daboll will be fired. And then Jackson Dart's going to learn a second offense. So you're going to have him sit behind Winston and Wilson. And the only way I envision seeing Jackson Dart on the field is if Wilson struggles and Winston gets hurt or he gets released. But I don't see Jackson Dart seeing the field this year. He'll see it in preseason. But he won't see it in the regular season. I'd be surprised if he sees it in the regular season. So you're going to sit as your third string quarterback on a team whose owner wants their head coach and their GM to win now. Was not a playoff mandate, just to win games, win more games. I mean, right now, before this draft and before free agency, I had the Giants penciled in for 3 fucking wins. How many more wins do you think Russell Wilson will give them right now? And now that they got now what they have, how many more wins do you think the Giants will win? Maybe we'll bump it up to 7, 6 at best, 7 at best. I mean, all I hear is Brian Daboll's a fucking good offensive mind. The last 2 years, his teams was fucking 31st in the league in offense. Yeah, you had two fucking receivers that had over 90 catches, but the yardage disparity, oh my God. That's on play calling. That's on Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll called the plays last year. Now we have a quarter. Now we have Russell Wilson, who was their quarterback one. So things should improve. It should. But we'll see. We'll see if they improve. But I don't put much faith in Brian Daboll in developing these players. And developing these players for, last year's draft from year 1 to year 2. I don't have faith in him. I just don't. Sorry. That's just my opinion. Because if you looked at the draft class from 22 to 23, who improved? And now you looked at this year. Who improved? Who is going to improve? I'll tell you this right now. If there's more than one player that regresses in that draft class, like a Drew Phillips or a Tyrone Tracy, who's that on? That's on coaching. It's on Brian Daboll and his coaching staff. It should be an ascension, not a descension. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So that's about it. I mean, I think the Giants had a very good draft, like I said. I didn't think they needed to trade back in the round 1. That was the only thing that raised more questions than answers. When they could have gotten Jackson Dart in round 2. Because he was sitting right there. So, I mean, everyone thought they was going to get Shedeur Sanders. And let me tell you something about Sanders. The NFL punished him for fucking being entitled. I mean, think about this. He didn't do no practices in the East in his bowl games. He didn't participate in the combine. And all he did was his pro day. Did you honestly think he was going to go first or second or even third? You don't think these teams do their fucking due diligence? And even though, yes, the Giants scouted him very heavily, along with Travis Hunter and the other 2 wide receivers, I think when they really got deep down, like with the interviews and stuff like that, and they didn't like what they saw, and I applaud Brian Daboll for not even trying for him, because I think that just set the whole thing in motion. Like, you know what? If Brian Daboll thinks that Shedeur Sanders is not going to, and he's had Josh Allen and would you put your fucking $1 billion franchise in his hands? In Shedeur Sanders' hands? And he went to the Browns after the Browns passed him up fucking 6 times. And if you sort of look on in that war room, they looked pretty fucking enthusiastic. It's amazing. They looked like they weren't even happy at all. It was almost like a forced thing. Like, just get him. Shut him up. Because if Cleveland didn't take him, I think he'd be undrafted free agent like his brother. But that's about it for tonight. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens now. I mean, like I said, I think Giants had a very good draft. They got players that they needed. Did they get their franchise quarterback? That remains to be seen right now. But we'll see. We will see.